Peacock Angel by E.S. Drower, Chapter 8. Sairey Gamp. Again. The old wife has spoken her oracles. Theocritus, Del 15. The midwife, old Hagia, now became a test of our politeness, for she arrived at all times and seasons, and though we felt constrained to brew tea for her and to have sweets ready for her grandchildren, I did not feel bound to lend her my whole attention, but wrote letters when I wished, or typed out notes on my small machine. This she viewed with interest. It was not so much talk that she needed as contemplation of my various activities. A lady from Mosul came here to Bashika once, and she and I were much together, just as you and I are. Allah. I brought my bed and slept in her room. I looked at her with apprehension. Her presence was always a little malodorous, and her conversation excessively obstetrical in theme. I shuddered to think of those wrinkled and grimy hands at their work. On the morning of April the 13th, she arrived betimes, fully determined to be my other sister all day. I was busy turning out things from my suitcase, and she sat in my bedroom watching closely with her old eyes, and would have examined everything piece by piece had she dared. When Rashid arrived to take me, as he had offered, to tell Billah, her eyes goggled when I said to him that I had a parcel for his wife. We started off, all three together, and on the way she possessed herself of the parcel and opened it to see what it contained. Rashid's young wife was delighted with the length of silk I had brought as a present for the feast, and smoothed the material with appreciative fingers. Then we set off to the mound, Rashid, Sairey, and I, the old woman more than ever determined not to let me out of her sight. We went by the way of Sheikh Mohammed and encountered there the guardian, a kochek, a gentle old man with a white beard, dressed in spotless white. He inquired whether I would care to visit the tomb, but I thanked him and said we would return another day. We continued our way through the fields, picking flowers as usual by the wayside. Here above the small, smiling blue pimpernel, Anagalis coerulea, so common that one often forgets it is there, grew in quantities by the lighter blue of the woodruff. Tall columns of hollyhock rose above the corn. Rashid told me that in the Sinjar, its stem is considered an aid to the growth of hair. Women dry the stalks, pound them, mix the powder with water, and apply the paste to their scalps when taking a bath, with the result that their hair becomes long and thick. Talking of snakes, Rashid said, there is a man, an Arab, who lives half an hour from here, who can cure snakebite, and has done so many times, without fee. He has a kherza, an amulet, in the shape of a snake's head. Yes, one can see the shape of the eyes and something like a snake's mouth, but on the whole, it is like the balls that they put into soda bottles. It is transparent, and it fell from heaven. Yes, he says that it fell from heaven, and wallah, it cures snakebite. When one is bitten, he comes and scrapes the wound a little with his knife and puts the kherza on it, and it sticks there of itself. And soon all the poison and yellow matter comes to the place and drips down and when the flesh is clean, it falls away. When the Americans were digging at the tell, a woman and her husband were sleeping in a room, and there fell from the roof, which was of ispindar, poplar wood, a large serpent that thick. He made a circle with his fingers, and it bit the woman. We went to the Ra'is of the Americans, and we asked for their car, and he said, yes, we will let you have it. Take her quickly to the hospital, for her arm and leg and body were swollen. We said, no, we shall take her to the man that cures snakebite with a kherza. We took her, and he put the kherza on her. The poison came away, and she was cured. Now, people in these areas would probably know the right substances and stuff to put on things. But we also see this connection between the amulets and snakes and other elements making it into other faiths. There was a man who made himself out to be a sheikh. He was not a sheikh, but he made himself out to be one. He came and he sat by the bridge by Sheikh Muhammad, and he called, and a snake came out towards him. It came to him, and it bit him. He boasted, I am a sheikh. It cannot harm me. From my granddad, I inherit this gift. Snakes cannot poison me. But he began to swell, and presently he fell down senseless. We took him to the Arab, who placed his kherza on the bite. Presently the man came to and cried, what is this? What have you done? They tried to persuade him to keep the kherza on him, but he refused and threw it from him and began to walk away. He had not gone far before he turned yellow and fell down. Yes, he, this Arab, is a good man and asks no fee, but people send him a sheep or some such gift as khairat, bounty. He has a house and a garden. Now, I presume khairat comes from a word meaning good. And further back in the chapter 2, see necromancy in a way that other than you just praying at the graveyards, that you try to get some power from the dead and stuff like this. This is also something that maybe not the modern incarnation of the Yazidi, but definitely something that people have in that respect as an influence. And of course, people practice things in, forms that they can, right? Arrived at the mounds of Tel Bila, we climbed up and he showed me excavations of houses and the exploratory trenches, explained the plan of the dwellings, and pointed out the drain holes from the houses into the narrow streets. Rashid is so unusually intelligent that I can well understand why the Americans gradually advanced him to the position of foreman and left all in his charge when they went away. We sat on a carpet of wildflowers to rest, and the old crone, who had followed silently for the most part, pointed to the fortress on the hill, which we had failed to reach. There is the Qala, she said, a ruined place like this. Treasure is buried there. One night, 2 men of Bashika went forth with mattocks and a basket to dig for it. But the Resha Shiba came out of the Qala and leapt on them and hurled them out of the hole they had been digging, and they were half dead with fright. They never dared to return. At lunchtime, back at our little house, I heard sounds of arrival, and going out, found A in the courtyard, surrounded by her luggage. Had I not had her letter, she had asked, written 3 days before, I had not. But I had half expected that she might turn up for the feast, and was glad to see her, for A is of a rare kind. Indeed, amongst all the women in Iraq, I knew none that I would have axed to Bashika with less fear. I knew that she might be depended upon, not to utter a tactless word or display tiresome inhibitions, nor would our picnic mode of life dismay her. Sairey's talk about the Qal'a made me determined to reach it. Its local name is Qal'at Asfar Jadon, suggested that this time we should take a guide lest we miss the path again. So when A had unpacked and set up her camp bed, we procured a dark, shaggy-looking lad as a guide in making our way up the hills, clambered up the steep side of the ruined fortress. The rough masonry of blocks was fitted into the rock, so at times it was difficult to tell the work of nature and that of man apart. The whole had formed at some remote time a stronghold, and in the plateau above there was a deep well lined with masonry. Other openings on this flat surface, which looked like a terrace, were carved like the walls of a jar, and looked as if they were air holes to a chamber long blocked by earth and debris. One opening was small and square. As we wandered about, the shaggy-haired boy repeated the story about buried treasure and the spirits that guard it. We should fear, he said, to come here at night. We returned by an easier route and followed a rutted path in the rock, which led us back by the way of the shrine of Azrael to the aqueducts and the cistern above the olive groves. Here our young guide, with another boy who had joined us on the way, left us unceremoniously, and shedding their clothes, they leapt into the water. The Pan-like creature did not even ask for a guide's fee. At the fair some days later, he gave me a shy smile, and going to him, I put some money into his hand, telling him to choose some sweetmeats. What shall I choose? Said he, looking at the stalls. Anything you like, I replied, and left him. A little afterwards, he was at my side, holding towards me a packet of rahat lakum, Turkish delight. He had hunted for me in the crowd, but it is for you, not for me. He was amazed and went off with it wordless. When we returned, the inevitable Sairey had arrived. I had already warned A and apologized for our constant visitor. This afternoon, however, she was not alone. She had brought 2 daughters, one a married woman and the other a bride. We prepared tea for them and ourselves. The afternoon, Sairey had all excuse. One of her daughters was a tattooist, and she knew I was interested in the art, but that was not all. She wheedled a little, and she had seen the silk that I had given to Rashid's wife, and surely I had a role for her. Was not the feast approaching? Now Sairey had at various times received money, and I had already earmarked my limited store of gifts, some of which were reserved for the visit to Sheikh Ade. Regretfully, I refused, but A immediately lightened the situation. She had brought with her some charms in Hebron glass against the evil eye, a whole string of them in blue, black, white, and yellow, each bead representing an eye. These proved an immediate salve, and never failed to give delight whenever and wherever she bestowed them. We talked of tattooing. The women never admit that tattooing has a magic purpose and tell you that they submit to the process for zina, decoration, or hilwa, beauty. Here and there, however, marks have been tattooed to keep off pain, and the floriated cross and cross with a dot in each arm, both common designs, are undoubtedly magical and health-preserving signs. The married daughter explained how she worked. The ingredients were sheep's gall, lamp black from an olive oil lamp only, and milk fresh drawn from the breast of the mother of a girl child. If the baby is a boy, she said, the punctures would fester. The consistency of this mixture must be that of dough. A pattern is traced on the skin with this paste, and then pricked in with a needle or two needles tied together with a thread. These must draw blood. At first, the surface swells up, but later settles down, and the design appears in a deep blue. Yazidi women rarely tattoo the entire body, as do the women of southern Iraq, but content themselves with adorning the back of the hand, the wrist, forearm, chest, ankle, and lower leg. And one of the things about this is that pretty much everything you see listed as revealed religion is telling you no tattoos, never get any tattoos. But as you know, the Yazidi worship Shaitan, which in Avestan is cast out of a place. Cast out of what place? Oh, well, because he refused to prostrate along with, towards Adam in obedience to. Oh, okay. So it is the same Satan, right? The Misht Arkom, by the way, there's no hesitation in pronouncing this word, although I had always heard that it is one of the words which Yazidis will not utter because it contains the consonants sh and ta and suggests the forbidden name Shaitan, Satan. The comb is often joined to a circle called the Qamar, full moon, are finished by a cross, sometimes plain. The second is the cross. The third, the gazelle. This is a conventionalized representation of the animal and is a favorite design. Those that I saw had the above back of the animal a spot called a taqiyya. The Rijal al-Qata'i, sand grouse foot. This resembles the print left by a bird's foot in the sand. The moon, either full or crescent. The la'ibeh, or doll, a primitive outline of a human figure with extended arms and legs apart. So we have the example of the man, woman, and child. The dulab qatan, or ke uke u uk, the spool or spindle, and the rest daka, an inverted V. The dimlich, a figure which looks like a bag suspended by two strings. Now, there's a lot of religious significance in even these sorts of animals, but let me make sure that I get you the page. Okay. Yeah, this page over here is okay. I'll focus on more after the last couple paragraphs. Well, the last page. Refreshment had been twice dispensed, and we reached the point when we wished that our visitors would go, but they sat on. I basely forsook A and went to my room, and when I came back, still they sat. A spoke in English and said to me, "They are dying to see your typewriter," and have said to me, "Do you think that the Khatun would work it for us?" So the typewriter was produced, and the young women gazed at it with awe. I typed the name of each on a piece of paper and gave them the scraps. And they folded them carefully. One does not see one's name printed with a machine every day in Bashika. But they still gazed. Does it so also? They asked innocently. As soon as they left, I took A up to Ras Al Ain, for I wanted to show her the cavern, bas reliefs, and the spring. I was a little disappointed when we reached the pool to find a procession of schoolboys marching up the path, all wearing the khaki uniform of the government schools and singing patriotic songs, every verse of which ended in Watani, my fatherland. Very praiseworthy, no doubt, but a modern intrusion into the pagan sanctuary. Latania. When we reached the rock, the schoolboys were perched all about it, and had some plunged into the pool, but their politeness in moving away from the rock steps to let us pass, and their friendly faces made me regret that I had wished them away. After all, we had reached the sacred cavern. It was empty. It was growing too dusk to see the panels clearly, but a smell of incense clung about the place, and we crossed to the other side of the cave, stepping over the deep channel cut by the spring. We saw an olive lamp of the ancient shape, sending its thread of yellow flame upwards to illumine the gloom and add to the perfume of sanctity. A schoolmaster followed us in and volunteered information about his own village, which he hoped that we would visit, offering to show us much there that would interest us. We thanked him and said good night, and to the boys outside, we went out and down the valley in the twilight. Kids were skipping on the road, and in the village, we passed women sitting at the threshold of their courtyards, resting after the day's work, while their children played and sang. "This is a lovely place," said A. She had fallen in love with it, just as I had. And there was a show, Homeland or something like that, that somebody written in Arabic, that similar word. I mean, they're not speaking Arabic. But yeah, we have right here the various signs. The Zell, the sand grouse, the dark, the dimlich, the la ibe, so the body doesn't extend for the child, the man, the fist, I guess, and he's skinny, the woman, the body's a bit round, and the sun, that circle and dot, the moon, either like that or like that. The double circle moon, I guess, comes from that too. You also have on the horizon, we have those three dots being the sase. We have the res, the those in a circle. Obviously the animal making tracks. The dulab khatun, which is the spindle. We have the misht, which is the comb, which would have 9 or 10 teeth. We have combining the two, 5 and that with that. And what else do we have? Just plain Thea,